Hi and welcome to another Dech Academy video. Here we have number 10 in the 2013 WASSCE June exam, and it just involves inequalities. Here we have the inequality 2x minus 5 divided by 2 less than 2 minus x, and we're asked to solve it. What does that mean? It means we should, they say solve, but they didn't tell you what to solve for. But it is implied that you solve for the unknown variable in the inequality, and the unknown variable here is x. As you can see, you have numbers and x. So clearly x, you don't know what x is. X has a value, a numerical value, which is like a number, and we want to know what that is. So we're going to use the techniques for solving inequalities, which is similar to the way you would. We're basically making x the subject of this formula, of this inequality, which is similar to how you make x the subject of an equation, except there's some, when dealing inequalities, there's some, if you remember from your like lessons, your class lessons at school, there's some, important differences. Anyway, I'm going to solve this question, and the first thing you want to do, so here's a question. First thing you want to do is get rid of fractions. Fractions are always nasty to deal with, and I want to say they're nasty to deal with. I'll just say it's always easier to work without fractions. Let's put it that way. So let's just have this is what we have. 2x minus 5 is less than 2 minus x. You can get rid of the 2, which is the denominator fraction, by multiplying the left hand side and right hand side of the inequality by 2. So multiply through by 2. And if you have, let's just explain the rationale behind multiplying the left hand side and the right hand side inequality by the same number. The rationale and the validity of doing that. Consider like a little boy who has one sweet on his left hand. I'm sorry, the example's a bit lame, but it's easy to understand. A little boy has one sweet on his left hand side, and on his right hand side he has 2 sweets. So on the left hand side he has 1 sweet, which is less than 2. 1 is less than 2. So say I multiply the sweets on the left hand side by 2. He now has 2 sweets on his left hand side. And if I do the same thing to the right hand side and multiply the originally 2 sweets by 2, he now has 4. So now he has 2 on his left hand side, he has 4 on his left hand side. So 2 is less than 4. Originally 1 was on the left hand side and 2 sweets were on the right hand side. 1 was less than 2. We multiply the sweets on the left and right hand side by 2, and then we got 2 less than 4. What I'm trying to say is, when you do the same thing to the left hand side, you maintain a sign, whether it's an inequality, so less than, greater to, equal, whether it's a less than sign, greater than sign, or less than equal to sign, or greater than equal to sign, or whether it's an equal to sign. Once you do the same thing to the left hand side and right hand side of an inequality or equality, you maintain the inequality or equality, except for the case where you're multiplying through by a negative number. And if you remember from your inequality lessons, if you multiply through by a negative number, you have to change the inequality sign to the opposite sign. Whereas if it were an equal to sign, you wouldn't have to change anything. But you need to go to your lessons to review that, and just proceed with the question solution. So I multiply both sides by 2 by 2. I'll show you the multiplication just for the sake of not skipping steps. So multiply both sides by 2, as you can see here. 2 here, 2 into 1, and so we have 2x minus 5 left, right? Less than 2 times 2 minus x. Ooh, this might not be clear. This is 2 minus x. For solving this, let me just show you how you do things like solve problems like this. I'll do that in red. Say you had an expression, I'll just move to the right. So you had an expression of this form. You probably know this, but for those who don't, you had something like x plus y. How do you solve it? You say you solve it this way: a times x plus a times y. All you literally do is take the term outside the bracket, multiply it by the first bracket, a times x. So that dot means times. And then you keep the sign, plus, and then you do the same, a times y. You keep it there. So I'll do another one. So you had a into x minus y. You multiply the term outside the bracket by the first term, giving you a times x. I'll drop the dot notation. And you keep the sign, and then you multiply the term outside the bracket by the other term, a times y. That's all you do. And that is what I'm going to do over here. 2 times 2 minus x is 2 times 2. So I'll do that here. I keep the minus sign. 2 times x. So the term outside the bracket, you multiply by the first term. Then you keep the sign, that's a minus sign. And then you multiply the term outside the bracket by the next term. So we now have I should drop the brackets here. 2x minus 5 less than 2 times 2 is 4 minus 2 times x is 2x. So I'm going to bring all the x's to one side. So I'm going to add 2x to both sides to get rid of the minus 2x here. Again, you can see I'm doing the same thing to both sides. So it's 2x minus 5 plus 2x less than 4 plus, minus 2x plus 2x. Now, minus 2x plus 2x is obviously 0 because, you know, I mean, think about it. If you have something and you take that thing away from, let's say, if you had 2 sweets and you take 2 sweets away, you have no sweets. So that cancels out. You should remember that. Anyway, now on the right hand side we have 2x plus, well, let me write it out. 2x plus 2x and minus 5 less than 4. 2x plus 2x is 4x minus 5 less than 4. We remember we're solving for x, so we want to isolate x on the left hand side preferably. So let's take minus 5 to the right hand side. So let's add 5 to both sides. So that gives us again minus 5 plus 5 is 0. If I had 5 sweets and I took 5 away, I have none. So I guess if you wanted to think about a problem like minus 5 plus 5, think of it the other way as 5 minus 5. It's the same thing. Let me show you what I mean. So instead of having minus 5 plus 5, you can have plus 5 minus 5. It's the same thing. I just took the plus 5 in front of the minus 5. I didn't break any rules. Anyway, 4 plus 5 is 9. So plus 5 minus 5 is 0. Think about the sweets. I have 5 and I take 5 away. I have none. And we have 4x less than 9. I divide both sides by 4 to get rid of the 4 here. And I get, well, 4x over 4 less than 9 over 4. 4 here, 1. So x is less than 9 over 4, which if you write as a mixed fraction, you get x is less than 1 over 4. So just a note on inequalities and what happens. So that's your solution. This is it. The problem is solved. But I just want to touch on inequalities and an important point. If you have an inequality, say x less than minus x less than 2, and you wanted to solve for x, you wanted to know what x was, not minus x, but x, you would multiply this expression through by minus 1. Through by minus 1. So you have minus 1 times minus x. It wouldn't be less than this time. It will be greater than. You change the sign. Why? Because I'm multiplying through by a negative number. That is a rule you need to keep in mind. And I'll show you why that rule is true, and you will agree with me. Anyway, what you get is x greater than -2. Let me show you something. You'd agree that 2 is less than 4, right? 4 is bigger than 2. 2 is less than 4. Let's say I just decided to multiply this expression through by -1. What do I get? I get -2 on the left hand side, and I get -4. Now, is -2 less than -4? Is that, I mean, what do you think? -2 is not less than -4. In fact, -2 is greater than -4, which is why you change the sign. So this will never be done. So if you initially we had 2 less than 4, we multiply through by a negative number, you have to change the sign to the opposite sign. So less than goes to greater than. If you had less than or equal to, it will go to greater than or equal to. If you had greater than, it will go to less than. And if you don't believe me, if you don't believe this, that you don't believe that -2 is less than -4, consider the number line. We have 0, 1, 2. We have -2. I should say -1. Oh wow, -2, -3, -4. This is tight, I'm sorry. And you can see, okay, let me just do a really good one. Do a neat one. So number line, okay, that's as straight as I can make the line. So 0, 1, 2, -1, -2, -3, -4. So the way the number line works is, as you go from left to right hand side, numbers get bigger. As you can see, 1 is greater than 0, 2 is greater than 1, 3 is greater than every other number to the left. 1 is greater than all these numbers to the left. 0 is greater than all these numbers to the left. As you can see, -2, using that same, idea, -2 is greater than -4 because of what I just said. Numbers to the right hand side are greater than numbers to the left hand side. So as you can see, -2 is greater than -4. And as you can see, by changing the sign, we get that. So it's just a rule. If you multiply through by a negative number, you have to change the sign. I'll do another one. You agree that 1 is less than 6. If I multiply through by -1, -1 is greater than -6. I have to change the sign. And as you can see, -1 is here, and -6 would be somewhere here. So -1 is, in fact, greater than -6. So something to keep in mind for other inequalities problems. That wasn't needed here because we didn't multiply through by negative numbers. Anyway, thank you for your audience. If you like my video, hit like. If you have a question, leave a comment or drop me an email at dechacademy@gmail.com. And yeah, spread the word, and let's keep this going.